Have you ever dreamt about starting your own clothing brand, but wondered how to do so whilst minimizing the risk of failure? Well, I think it can be difficult because YouTube can at times appear to be full of successful clothing brand entrepreneurs telling you how they made their first six figures, or maybe how they sold out of their first drop in just a matter of days. But have you really considered just how legitimate some of these might be? Well, I'm going to take a slightly different approach. Call me a fool, but I'm going to give it to you straight. I haven't made six figures and I've never sold out of a drop. But what I have done is create a sustainable, profitable business model which is built for long-term growth. And what I'm going to share with you now is one of the biggest mistakes that I've made over the journey over the last 18 months as a clothing brand entrepreneur, so that you don't make that same mistake. Well, the truth is I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and it's likely that you'll do the same as well. Now, I think a lot of clothing brands fail for a couple of key reasons. Maybe they've not developed a strong brand concept which can act as a foundation around which everything else can be built. Or maybe the clothing brand entrepreneur themselves hasn't, really got that will and commitment to put in the work every single day. Maybe they've not quite the level of resilience and belief that you will need to put in the work every single day when you're not necessarily seeing the immediate benefit of that. But my biggest mistake to date was neither of these things. My biggest mistake was poor financial decision making from the outset, which you can easily avoid. It wasn't that I've got a poor understanding of costs or margin. I've got a pretty good understanding of the brand's profitability. But for me, it was decisions that I made very early on that had a negative impact on the cash flow of the business. So let's make this a little bit more real. Let me take you back to January 2021. Now, after 20 years of working in corporate sales, I took redundancy, and with me, a decent sum of money in my back pocket. And at that point, I decided I'm going to go for this. I'm in my early 40s now. If I don't do it now, I will never do it. And I do not want to live with the regret of never having taken the chance. So prior to the redundancy, I'd spent maybe 2 years researching, maybe just like you are at the moment, on YouTube, learning the screen printing process and learning about clothing brands. And I decided to use a chunk of that money towards creating my own screen printing studio, which you'll see in other videos. You'll see me printing below where I am at the moment, down in the garage. I'm just in the spare bedroom at the moment. And then moving on to launch my own casual cycling apparel brand, Velokind. Now, fast forward 3 months to April 2021, the screen printing studio is built, and I go ahead then and order blank stock in order that I can print and put it on the website. At this point, I made the worst decision that I've made up until this point. I put down 6.5 grand's worth of stock in US. That's about $8,000, I believe. Now, consider as well that this is blank stock. If you were to order this stock printed, which I intended to do, from your own screen printer, probably worth about 15 grand. And that was equivalent to about 700 items across t-shirts, tees, sweatshirts, different colours, different sizes, some men's or unisex and some ladies' cut garments. And in hindsight, it was just far too much. So this is getting a little bit painful now, but consider as well, I'm being very straight with you now, that at this point I had about 500 followers on Instagram, which was the only social platform that I had a presence on. And when you think about that, really, it just goes to show how deluded I was about my ability to generate sales from a brand that customers just had never heard of. I didn't have a huge marketing budget to support it. I was planning to do it largely through organic. And it just really goes to show that I was very naive in terms of what was required, in terms of effort and time to build the brand to the point that it was credible enough that people would buy and then generate sufficient sales and momentum for me to justify that level of stock. So just bear that in mind when you're placing your orders as well. So what does it all mean? Well, I really wanted to use this lesson as a chance to discuss with you the concept of opportunity cost within starting a clothing brand. So what is opportunity cost? Well, essentially, For every decision or choice that you make, and this can be within your own clothing brand, or equally you can apply this just to your life in general, there is a cost. And the cost is the value of the alternative that you have foregone in order to make the decision that you indeed have taken. So in my case, I spent £6.5 grand on stock, which prevented me from spending £6.5 grand on something else. Now, I'm not suggesting I shouldn't have spent any money on stock. Clearly I should, but I should not have spent to that extent. Maybe three or 4 grand would have got me started. But if I'd spent 3, that would have left 3.5 for me to spend elsewhere in the business. Now, if I'd had that decision again, knowing what I know now, I would have spent 3 grand on stock, and I would have kept 3 grand back to spend on paid social advertising once the brand was in a strong enough position that would have been worthwhile. Now, there's an important nuance here, and that is that information at any given time is not perfect. You can only act on the best information available to you and the knowledge that you have. And herein lies the key message that I want to convey to you today. Growing a clothing brand is likely to take longer than you think, and it's likely to take longer than some of these YouTube gurus would have you believe. So what I would say is consider accepting this from the outset. Now, I'm not saying don't be ambitious. Of course, you want to be successful, but give yourself the time to grow the brand from a small base sustainably. You know, this brand is going to be stood in 10 to 15 years time. Don't rush some of the decisions early when finances are tight. I imagine you've got a limited budget, so just think about how you can make best use of that. But what I really want to say to you as well is take action. You know, you are going to make mistakes. Don't be afraid of that. You need to go through this process of making mistakes in order that you can improve and become aware of some of these opportunity costs after the event. And once you start becoming aware of that, evaluating things after you've taken a decision and reviewed the results, you'll be able to improve your understanding of opportunity cost in the future in order that you can make better decisions that will positively impact the brand over the lifetime. So good luck with it. If you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Drop me a comment below if you want to get in touch, and check out this video here for some great opportunity cost insight around deciding on how many designs you're going to launch your clothing brand with. I'll see you in that video. Cheers.